Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central, as I get ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on the radio at iacradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates, and we are also airing all kinds of Christmas music. So if you'd like to hear the station and you like Christmas, I'm thinking about keeping it all the time, 365 days a year. I love Christmas music. Murray. Yes, I'm going to do that. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications and Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the Newscasters.com. I have my friend Murray Edwards with me right now, who I'm blaming for giving me the flu that I've had for the past. Somehow you sent it through the airwaves.
Yeah, it took some time to get to you. I'm sorry. Tell Philip I'm sorry too.
Yeah, well, we've all been calling you all kinds of names. So at least we're letting some of our families rest right now.
There you go. Yeah, no, not all the time on the Christmas music. When they start, what is it, the Hallmark Channel? One of those channels start showing their Christmas movies in June or July or something like that.
Yeah,
and that's just a bit much.
Yeah, I think Phil's going through that right now. I've dragged him through all the Hallmark.
Oh, gee,
and he says there's all the same movie. It's the same movie.
Thank you, Phil. I've said the same comment.
Somebody hates
the change the names, and somebody's coming into some small town, a man or a woman, or a woman or a man. They have all this reconnections, and they break up. And at the end of the movie, everybody's just so happy and go lucky. You know, you sit there and go, "Okay, enough's enough."
Phil said, "Didn't we just watch that?"
I'm with him 100%. I'm with him 100% on that.
But anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now after the election.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm even seeing some liberals who seem to be a little more relieved.
I think, as a whole, the majority of the populace was happy with the results. Mm-hmm. As I was mentioning before we went on, I actually had some folks from out west who classify themselves liberal, voted for Trump. You know, and I think they saw the writing on the wall. I mean, put Herb aside for a second. I guess the Democratic Party as a whole has just lost its touch with supposedly the American people. You know, they have become identity politics, period. You're either with us or against us, or you're with this particular group. And if you're not with this particular group, you hate, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're whatever. And they would pick these little small groups. And I think as a whole, the majority of American society sort of got tired of it. Now, there's still a batch out there, you know, and I got tickled at, you know, one newscaster the other day making a comment that, well, it wasn't a landslide. You know, he didn't win 50% of the vote. But he won 312 to 216 in the Electoral College. Mm-hmm. He flipped every swing state. Mm-hmm. He flipped counties that voted Democrat that had been voting Democrat for almost an entirety to Republican. He shrunk the size of California that typically votes blue. Mm-hmm. They now voted red. He picked up New Jersey, more votes in New Jersey. He picked up more votes in Virginia, and he picked up more votes in New York City. So his party, the way he has designed things to be basically for the American people, I think caught on. And I think people are willing to give him another shot. Now, how much damage that Biden's going to do between now and January the 20th, that's another question that's going to have to be asked, because he's going to do something to try to make it more difficult for him to put his policies in place. And I hope the American people will be patient, because there's a lot of stuff he's got to undo. The damage is someone who follows things like I do, like you do. There was a lot of damage that's been done to American society that's going to have to be resolved. And it's just, unfortunately, it's not going to be, you'll get out to your car, turn your car on, it cranks up and you go away. It's going to take a little bit of time for all that stuff to be straightened out.
How do you think Russia is going to play out? I think
Russia.
Yeah.
I think he'll go back. I think he'll put back in place the not necessarily tariffs, but he'll put something against oil shipments, not only for Russia but for Iran. And those were the first two things that Biden lifted, was to lift the embargo, and I think he'll go back and put those on. I think. What's the old adage? Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Mm-hmm. I think he will be able to form some type of communique with not necessarily Iran, mm-hmm. but with Putin. I think he'll be able to sit down and they'll have some kind of conversations. I'm a little irritated that Biden continues to dump American tax dollars into the Ukraine. I mean, just so that the other day, another $1 billion is going to the Ukraine, mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden Zelensky is saying, "Well, bring us into NATO and we'll talk." Well, wait a minute. Why couldn't you have said bring us into NATO? Of course, NATO is not going to bring them in, but if they could have had a conversation a year ago, 2 years ago, all the disastrous damage that really both countries, and get me wrong, I'm not a fan of Russia, but mm-hmm. all the deaths that have occurred in both those two countries because of whatever type of ideology that they're trying to fight for is just devastating. And that's just a terrible thing for societies as a whole.
Well, since the whole thing started with Ukraine and Russia, I tend to have, this tendency to go against whatever the Democrats want. My thought has always been, because I'm really not for either one. I'm not seeing why we have to be involved in that one. Mm-hmm. I'm not a Ukraine person either.
You have to think back though, Donna. How long has Ukraine been in the conversations with American politics? For quite a while. That was how they started the first impeachment against Trump, was because of a phone conversation he had with somebody in Ukraine. So the skeptic in me sits there and says, who's making money off this thing? Because there's been a lot of money spent. They can't tell us where all the money's gone, or if they could, they won't. So how many people are making money off of this situation? It's just a shame. That's where you get the war machine, the warmongers and whatnot. Keep throwing money at something. Somebody's making money off of it, and because somebody's making money off it, there are people dying, which is not a good thing for any country.
That's called blood money.
Oh yeah,
that's called blood money. So the point is why can't we? Because if we are paying people salaries with our taxes that we mm-hmm. work hard for every single day, mm-hmm. why can't there be some kind of a call that we can go into their bank accounts and see where money is being deposited? I mean, and where it's coming from. I mean, that's what you would do in business. Okay, if I were your CEO of business you owned, and all of a sudden you saw Donna driving around in Jags and all this kind of stuff, making a little bit more money than you thought I was, wouldn't you start just kind of an accounting to see where my money was coming from and where it was going?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And when you talk about how many blanket LLCs that were put in place by the Biden.
Is that not red flags?
It's a red flag for me instantaneously. And so you have to think that money was flowing some form of fashion. And Mr. Biden says, I'll never pardon my son. I'll never pardon my son. I'll never pardon my son. Oh, I'm pardoning my son. And then give him such a blanket pardon for basically a 10-year period for anything that he might have done during that 10-year time frame, which includes part of the time that he was a vice president. Mm-hmm. Just sort of goes to show that some money was flowing somewhere. Now, they can't touch it. They can't be charged. But one good thing is if Congress does happen to bring him up before Congress to talk to him, he can no longer claim the fifth. He's got to talk about it. And I hate to be cynical, but I think this was the plan all along. I think, and it's terrible for me to say this, but I don't think Biden really cared. I sort of think he knew his son was involved in all this stuff, and we're going to let him go through all these pains and agonies. And at the very end of it, when I get ready to step down or whatnot, I'll give him a pardon. And I sort of felt like he threw his son up as a scapegoat for a lot of different things, and that's terrible. To think that a father would do that to his son. But I don't agree with Chuck Todd basically on anything. But he made a comment the other day that I sort of have to agree with. The family knew he had problems. He being Hunter had problems. He was taking drugs. He was doing this. He was doing that. The family was apparently in disarray when, before Biden decided he was going to run for election and all this kind of stuff. They knew everything was there and what could come of it. And they decided to go ahead and run for office anyway. So they brought and I don't feel sorry for Hunter at all. Don't get me wrong, because he's done a lot of bad things, but they sort of brought those circumstances into play. And the ultimate goal was, we'll let some of this stuff come out, but in the very end, we'll fix it. We'll give him a pardon, from that standpoint. The blanket pardon is just unheard of. I mean, everything that this man has done over the last 10 years now, you can't touch him. You can't bring him to court. You can't charge him for anything that he may have done.
Well, I have to tell you, the mother hen part of me, when they denied that Hunter had a child, and they never took into accountability that this was one of their grandchildren. I'm sorry, that would have still been my grandchild. It wouldn't matter what that kid would be coming to every Christmas dinner.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything we had. So that just set really bad with me. And I think a lot of mother hens out there probably felt the same way.
I'm a grandfather. I would never do that. I mean, there are strange circumstances that occur with, children as they're growing up. Mistakes get made or accidents happen, I guess you might want to say. I would never in this world step away from a grandchild for any circumstance, from that standpoint. And of course, I just found out I've got my 4th great grandbaby on the way, so I've got all those generations of kids that they're all mine, come heck or high water. They're all mine, and I put my arms around each and every one of them every chance I get.
We went to church this guy a long time ago, and my dad pastors his church. And this guy, they called him Big Bad John. He was huge and just looked threatening. And boys were afraid to date his girls, but of course they would sneak off. And he made a remark one time. He said, "If I have a daughter that comes up pregnant, I'm going to disown her and the kid." He said that. Well, he had a daughter that got pregnant.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what, that baby caused him to melt. He was not Big Bad John when that baby was around.
It's amazing how little bitty ones, all of a sudden you can be seem to be the meanest person in the world, but those little eyes open up and all of a sudden you go, oh, I can't be mean. Oh. So
what kind of a person?
When they get to be older now, my oldest granddaughter just turned 30 and my youngest grandson just turned 15. Now, when they get to be in that age bracket, that's an entirely different situation. But that from 1 year on up to about 12 or 13, there's not a whole lot that they could do that's wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then again, a father or grandfather who disowns one, that was enough for me. It was just like, no, you can't even take count and see that with baby.
I agree.
Right there. So about Hunter, okay, so it looks as if he's gotten by with all of this stuff. Is Trump going to be able to put anything in place to make him pay for anything? Or does Trump care? Is he only looking for success right now?
Well, he says his retribution is success. He's not going to go after folks. There's nothing they can do now. I mean, with Biden now discussing blanket pardons for members of Congress and members of his staff, you don't typically, to me, and I could be wrong when I say this, typically you don't offer pardons to folks who haven't done anything wrong. So in the back of his mind or in the back of their mind, they're saying, well, we did some things. We're talking about getting the Justice Department, how they've spun it, how they've created this lawfare over the last 3 or 4 years, gone after certain people that they might not have necessarily gone after, done hearings, and the J6 hearing is a prime example. I mean, the committee itself destroyed with evidence, from that standpoint. What did they have? Why did they destroy it? So some of these people have got to be thinking that we have done some things that are illegal in nature. Now, Trump did not go after Miss Hillary. Everybody said, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And he did not. He didn't think that would be a good thing for the country. And I don't think that he has any interest in doing any of that now. Now, it depends on what Miss Bondi does when she gets in to be, the AG. They have to look at some of the things, in my opinion, they have to look at some of the things that have been done to see what actually has been done that was illegal. Because there were some things done by this administration that there's no two ifs and buts about it was illegal. Mm-hmm. And I think that has to be looked into. Special counsel. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Matt Gaetz, they let's assign Matt Gaetz as a special attorney and let him go do what he has to go do. I would think they would be trembling for the thought. And then you got the new FBI director that's going to come in. It's high time, and I think most people on the show and around the countryside have realized that the federal government has just gotten totally, completely out of hand, out of control. We spend too much money. They have too much power and control over your day-to-day lives. Mm-hmm. Biden put in, $1.7 billion, $1.7 trillion worth of rules and regulations on the business community. And that's not right. So if he comes in and did what he did last time, eliminate all these rules, all these regulations, it will free up the business community to, do what they would like to do. Mm-hmm. So we'll just have to see what happens. But I don't think him personally, in the back of his mind, I think he goes, it's over with. I'm president again. I'm going to move forward with my agenda. But whatever his department heads decide that they want to go do, I would dare say I think he let him go do it.
I think he's just going to, because success is the only thing on his mind, and that's how he got where he is now.
I agree.
Is by, success is the best revenge. I mean, it really is.
Absolutely.
So what do you think the economy is going to be like? Okay, I'll put it to you this way. So we sold our land, I think, at the peak, just at the right time. Because now I'm noticing prices going down a bit in real estate. And do you think they're going to continue to go down when Trump comes in, or do you think we're going to see another spike?
Well, I did a show with an economic professor the other day. We were talking about tariffs. And, most people don't understand what a tariff is and how it operates and how long they've actually been in play. And if you go back and you take a look at what the stock market has done over the last 5 or 6 months, they look 6 months to a year in advance. So they're sitting there going, well, we think Trump's going to win. And they liked his policies when he was in last time. Mm-hmm. So that's why Biden wants to take credit for the stock market bump. It's nothing Biden's done. It's all everybody thinking that Trump is going to win. The new policies are going to come in. So I think prices will come down some. They're talking about another quarter point drop in the prime when they get together, I guess sometime later on this month. So that will be what they had, a half a point and a quarter point and another. So that'd be a whole point that has come down in probably the last 4 or 5 months. That's going to spur folks. I think the energy that you saw with people on Black Friday and Cyber Monday with people spending, I think they're enthusiastic now that things are going to get better. I think they're going to get better. As I said earlier, don't get upset if we're 2 months down the road or 3 months down the road and things, aren't progressing, because there's a lot of things he's got to untwine to really get the market going.
But he had a lot of things he had to untwine the first time around.
Yes, he
did.
He
made record success then.
The key thing then, though, Donna, is he had Washington elites in his first 2 years that were fighting him tooth and nail for everything that he wanted to do.
Right.
This time, he basically put the thumb up their nose and said, "No, I'm going to bring in my people this time. I'm going to bring in businessmen who understand what it's like to write the front of the check instead of the back of the check. I'm not going to bring in all these professors and these learned scholars who live on theory and theory alone." And that's been the problem for so long. And now that you've got the bureaucratic state absolutely pulling their hair out right now, they've got to be paranoid. They just got to be out of their ever-loving mind to sit there and think. If you saw the other day, 1% of the Social Security employees, 1% go to the office maybe once or twice a week. 42,000 people. I think there's some cuts. There's some cuts that can be made there.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's pretty much enthused. And you said earlier, even some Democrats are basically getting enthused. And now, how much power Mr. Musk and Mr. Vivek will have once they get in there, it's here to determine. But we'll just have to see what they can cut. And the more they can cut means fewer tax dollars being wasted that can be turned into something that would be productive for the American people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the people. That's what it's all about.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that was a message that was really sent big time too with Trump. Just some things he did, riding in the trash truck, and then working at McDonald's and just little things like that. No other person has ever done anything like that.
No, the Miss Harris, whoever set up her campaign, that will go down in history as by far the worst presidential campaign in history.
That is the absolute worst. Absolutely.
And going through anywhere between $1.5 billion to $2 billion, the numbers change every so often, in about 100 days, paying all these elite celebrities hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to come on a stage and promote and denigrate hardworking Americans. You must vote this way. If you don't vote for her, then you're a bigot. If you don't vote for her, you're a racist. And even calling out people of her same race. Because you're black, you've got to vote for a black woman. No, if she was qualified, I think most people would sit there and go, okay, who's got the better qualifications? She had no qualifications whatsoever. And people saw through it. And it's embarrassing. It really is. I mean, I have a chuckle now because I follow a lot of folks that most people don't follow just to find out the kind of things that they're saying. The Democratic Party is in absolute, total, complete disarray. They don't know who to blame, when to blame them, or if they blame this person on Monday, they're going to turn around and blame somebody else on Tuesday. So they've got to completely rebuild themselves. And this Carville guy out of Louisiana, I'm just awestruck why anybody would listen to this guy ever, because he just goes off on these tangents, and you sit there and go, he's been around forever. He doesn't mince words, that's for sure. But we'll just have to see how things shake out.
Well, in business, when your business is going the wrong way, I'll give you a note. So Phil and I used to be internet service providers back during the dial-up days. Mm-hmm. Well, we actually saw we were getting out of the dial-ups and we're getting into the ISDNs and all those things. Sure. Had we not changed the business model, we rebranded, We
Mhm.
decided to do something else. We brought in cell phones, started doing all this other stuff. Had we not rebranded, we would be sitting here with no customers with a dial-up
Yeah.
business. They need to rebrand. But if you think you're going down the right path and you're going down, off a cliff, I mean, are they too late? Or do you see something else emerging within the Democrats?
It's whoever finally makes the stage as the lead for the Democratic Party. Some people are saying it's going to be the Newsom out of California. I don't think so.
I don't think so. He's just like the rest of them.
And then they talked about the governor of Pennsylvania. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know when you start talking about the bench. I don't know who they've got, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't know.
AOC's
because the good ones have left.
Yeah, they flipped over. You've got AOC now talking about taking over or running for the most powerful seat that they'll have in Congress for the Democratic side. And now she's learned to play the games. I will give it to her. She's really learned. She came in as a bartender, as most people realize. Didn't have any money. But now she's worth, and let's see, this will be her third term, I believe. She's now worth over $25 million.
Okay.
She went from being
red flag. How can you be a bartender and have that much money now?
She's learned to play the games well. She's learned to play the game well. And she's about as leftist. But if you caught this, and I don't know if you did, Donna, on her social media handles, she's changed her pronouns to her and she. She's now changed her title from congressperson to congresswoman.
So now you can say woman.
So it does say woman. So now what she's done is, I think she maybe saw the writing on the wall. Somebody did anyhow, and says, we got to get away from all this pronoun nonsense. If you're a congresswoman, you're a congresswoman. If you're not a congressperson type situation. So she may be trying to evolve a little bit.
Now she's got a long way to go.
She does. She's got a lot of evolution to make, as many other ones do. But I honestly don't know who they have out there. Obama, he's gone now. The days of the Obama influence are done. He's exposed it. Miss what's her name, Nancy? She's exposed it. And of course, I can't believe she's running for re-election again, but she's running.
Well, she'll get it somehow.
Oh yeah. So I just don't know who they have in the background who has got enough nerve. There was one Democratic representative, I want to say out of New Hampshire, who came out against men and women's sports. He said, I got two daughters. I don't want a man walking in there to their locker room. This is a Democrat. I don't want a man walking into their locker room, into their showers and all this kind of stuff. So I'm totally against that. He got lambasted by the Republicans. Not by the Republicans, but the left wing of the Democratic Party. He got lambasted. And, so the only hope I think that the party has, and I'm not a Democrat, so I'm not pulling for them in any sense, but the only chance that they've got to reestablish themselves is to try to find folks who are sensible thinking people.
Mm-hmm. And I think they lost the boat. Here's when they lost the boat. When they didn't get on Tulsi Gabbard would have been a great person to spearhead the Democrat Party. She would have been the one to do it.
I won't argue with that.
The whole thing, but they let her go by the wayside because they wanted the freaks out there running it for them.
Oh yeah. Well, they shut down RFK Jr. Now he can be a little wacky sometimes, but he brought up in the Democratic Party. And this is not the Democratic Party of my father or my uncle. This is a far left wing group of people now, and even Bernie Sanders. I was stunned. Bernie Sanders is supportive of Doge. Said, "Yeah, I'm with Mr. Musk and Mr. Vivek on this kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
We need to cut spending. And I'm sitting there going, I got to go get another sip of coffee at Bernie's, going along with them.
Uh-huh.
But it's going to be some interesting times. I know getting back to earlier, I just don't know how much damage Biden is going to try to do between now and January the 20th, because he could really do a whole bunch.
Let's go into a commercial break and let's talk about that when we get back. What are some of the things he could do
to
mess it up? Okay, and I'm sure they're trying. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, folks.
All right.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas, or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Good afternoon. We are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central Time, so I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. I got this kind of a flu thing going on. Now, Phil loves the raspy voice. He said, keep that. So keep the raspiness, but get better, please. So, but anyway, I do sound a little bit different than I normally sound. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and sticking with us on this. I have my good friend Murray Edwards with me right now. Murray and I have been friends for a while. And Murray, let's talk a little bit about you before we get back in. So you've been in politics a long time.
Yeah, way too long. Go all the way back to the George Wallace days here in the state of Alabama. Mm-hmm. My father was always involved. I got involved a little bit, then I got sucked into the corporate world doing some things. So it's hard to do politics when you're in a corporate environment, traveling around the countryside like I did. But when I stepped back, it didn't take long for the phone calls to start coming in, going, "Hey, guess what? We got this, doing that." So I get to talk to a lot of wonderful people all over the country, both from both sides of the aisle. Some of them are lunatics, some of them are fantastic people. But that's what you get with what happens. But things have changed in all my years. This had to be the most unusual election cycle I think I've ever seen. And I'm happy it's over for the next 2 or 3 weeks before 2026 cycle starts back up. And it's already starting. People are already announcing, I'm going to run for House. For the senators that are up for this next cycle. Some of the GOP guys are going to be primaried. There's no two ifs and buts about it. They got through the Biden year, so they'll be 2 years into their Trump term, and they'll be up for re-election. Mm-hmm. And some of those who have a R in front of them who aren't really R's, I would suspect many of them are going to be primaried. I know Cassidy out of Louisiana, a gentleman already has announced that he's running against Cassidy, apparently pretty powerful Republican down in Louisiana. So we'll have to see how many of them survive. It's not going to be free gratis for the batch of Republicans that run for re-election in 2016. And of course, here in our lovely state, the 2026 cycle starts up. You got all the members of the House, all the members of the Senate up for election. Ms. Ivy's termed out. Mr. Ainsworth is termed out. Mr. Marshall's termed out. Mr. Page termed out. So the 4 of the 6 executive levels are now going to be up. So get ready for all the rumors of who's running for what, where, and when in the zoo. So it will, in fact, I'm going to a meeting later on this afternoon talking about what candidates, should we try to primary in the state of Alabama with some of the votes that they've got. So it should be fun.
Are we going to have a nasty governor's race?
It depends on who runs. Ainsworth will run. I mean, he didn't run last time because Miss Ivy decided she was going to run for one last time. Mm-hmm. So he'll be up. And he's got his group of individuals that are behind him. He's been in the process of building his team, I guess you might want to say, for the last year and a half. I think there could be some surprises running for governor. There was one time that Tuberville was going to run, but he had sort of taken his name out of that, said he's going to now run for re-election as a senator. He's apparently fairly close with Trump, so I guess he's going to take advantage of that. But some of the same old names, I think, will appear for governor that have run in the past. But we'll just have to see. Ainsworth, to be perfectly honest with you, probably Ainsworth is felt like the shoe-in. He's lieutenant governor. He's going to make that step up now to the governor. But
what if John Merrill were to run against him?
I don't know what John's up to. Every time I go someplace, I run into John, smiling and shaking hands. I have a feeling he's going to run for something. I just don't know what it's going to be.
I think he'd be an awesome governor. I would love to. If I'll put it to you this way, I normally don't put my name behind anybody.
Yeah.
If he runs for governor, I'm putting my name behind him.
John's a good guy. I've had many dealings with John, and he stepped out and did some things that we talked about up in North Alabama and really straightened it out when he was, Secretary of State. So we'll just have to see what happens. I have there is talk that Arthur Orr is going to step away from the Senate and is going to run for AG. Don't know whether that's going to happen or not. I'm sure he's doing some evaluation from there. I know of a couple of folks right now that are doing study groups to decide whether they're going to run for governor. Not going to put their names out there because they've not made up their mind yet. But we'll just have to see. Well, what will Wes Allen do? Will he run again for Secretary of State? What will Andrew Sorrell do? Will he run for auditor again? My gut feel with Andrew is working his way up the food chain. I would not be surprised if Andrew doesn't throw his name in the hat for lieutenant governor or governor. Would not surprise me in the least little bit. But I'm sure there'll be some names out there that people have not heard of and some that people have heard of. But, what will Rick Pate do? Agriculture Commissioner, he's termed out. What will he do? What will Marshall do? He's termed out. I mean, are they going to just step aside and go away? Or are they going to take a look at, something else to run for? I don't know. I graduated with Rick Pate. I know Rick well. He's a good guy. But whether he plans on running for governor or any other office, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to see the fingernails come out too when all that happens.
It's going to be nasty. It's going to be nasty. Just like the election.
Blanchard? Mrs. Blanchard. I can't think of her.
Yeah. I've met her a few times. Seems to be a nice lady. She's got money, supporting her. She could very well run again. The one that wouldn't surprise me is, and I can't think of his name to save my soul right now. He used to run Barnes and Nobles, the bookstore Barnes and Nobles. And had he gotten into the race probably a little bit earlier, because he was way late when he announced, he might have done a little bit better as far as running for governor. I don't think he would have unseated her, Miss Ivy, but he put together a pretty decent campaign, but he did it, and he just came out too late in the cycle to even make a dent in what was going on.
Well, we've had an era of Kay Ivey as governor. What would I would like to see a new era, something a little different.
I don't think we're going to see it, Don. I think we're going to see. I think these guys and gals are at the executive level. They're going to run for different offices. Who, what, where, and when, I don't know. But we know Ainsworth's going to run for governor. We don't know what, like I said, the other 3 or 4 that are termed out, what they plan on doing. They're just going to step away and go back into the business world where some of them came from. Who knows? But I'm like you. I would like to see some new faces in some of these positions, because Miss Ivy, whether you like her or don't like her, she's been around for a long time. Ainsworth's been around for a while. Many of them have been.
I think we're tired. We're a tired state, and we need new blood.
Yep, I agree.
I was hoping Katie Britt might be it, but I
don't think Katie's going to go anywhere. I don't think she's going to go anywhere. And like I said, there was a rumor at one time that Tuberville was going to step away from the Senate and run for governor. I don't think he's going to do that now, because he did come out the other day and say he's going to rerun for re-election for the Senate seat. So I'm like you, and like I said, that's part of this meeting I'm going to later on today was, who do we take a look at, not necessarily at the executive level, but downstream, down into the House seats, Senate seats, city councils, county commissions, and whatnot, because many of them are going to be touched in 2026. And if they're doing a good job for the people of their county or their city, then okay. If they're not, then individuals who have never run for office need to maybe consider at least taking a look at it. Sometimes you get burned. There was a gentleman who ran in Lee County, ran a good race, acted like he was going to be an entirely different individual until he got elected, and then he turned into a machine, just like the rest of the county commission. So sometimes you get those that you think are going to do a decent job, and they turn out to be just as bad, if not worse, than the people who were in there. So People need to be looking at their city councils, their city commissions, their school boards, from a local basis, because the closer they are to home to you, the more effect they can have on you the quickest. Autauga County tried to pass a increase in property tax during the last election, and the people stood up and said, no, we're not going to do it.
People remember those things.
Yes, they do. And in another situation that just occurred in Prattville, I don't know whether it's, bothers everybody else, but they had their Christmas parade. And in the Christmas parade, there was a group that was going to have a float. And the float was men dressed up as women. And the city said, well, we can't, because apparently there'd been some threats and whatnot made against this particular group. And the city said, well, we can't protect you. They sued. Federal judge ruled in their behalf, so the city had to turn around and provide them with security for their float. And it wasn't that the city says the people are upset, because the city should have said, no, you can't be in the parade. Now, whether that is right or wrong, when you start talking about your First Amendment rights, you'll be able to say do what you want to. But some people thought that they were being left out because the city told them they couldn't go. That's not the case. The city apparently did not care that they were there. They just felt like they could not provide the proper security. So the members of the city council, I'm assuming, are going to be probably pretty held accountable for some of the things that they've done. But it's happened in other areas around the state, that some strange things occurred with the city council or the county commission. And, the people of those counties or those cities really need to decide, are they going to reelect that same group of people back in there? Or are they going to try to give someone a chance? It's like at the state level, state senators, state representatives. There's some that have done a fantastic job. They stand with their constituents. They fight for them tooth and nail. And then you've got others that whatever lobbyist comes into their office decides that, well, I like that bill, I want you to vote for it, or I don't like that bill, I don't want you to vote for it. That's not looking out after the constituents of an individual's district, in my opinion, whether it's a House or Senate.
Let me ask you about Nathaniel Ledbetter.
Mm-hmm.
Where is he going?
I don't know. He caused some controversies last year, as his first year. Well, I take that back, his second year as speaker. We'll just have to see what happens if they bring back gambling again. And I truly think that's something Ivy wants done before she steps away. They go into session this year on February the 5th. So people are already submitting pre-filed bills, watching some of them to see how they're going to affect the people here in Alabama. You've got the pharmacy benefit manager situation going on across the state. You've got tort reform going on across the state. Will gambling come back in this year? I would not be surprised, but they're going to have to change it to get it passed. And I've said this many times, if they just put together a clean lottery bill, people would probably pass. They would probably sign off on it, and it would pass. And I would suspect that the majority of the people here in Alabama, it'll have to be a constitutional amendment. They'll go and they'll vote for it, and they say, yeah, well, why do I go to Mississippi? Why do I have to go to Georgia if I can get a lottery ticket here? But there were so many strings attached to it that it was never going to pass last time. And if they have the same kind of strings attached to it, if it comes in, and at this moment, I don't know whether it's going to come in or not, but if it should come in and they put those same strings attached to it, it won't pass again. It just won't get through. That upsets a lot of people because they feel like, well, we want to vote on it. Let us vote. Let us, the people, decide whether we want gambling of some sort here in the state of Alabama. And I know some people are totally against it. Some people are saying, well, let the people decide. If they want it, they want it. If they don't want it, they'll say, no, we don't want it. But that's a mess. It's truly a mess. the what we call the PBM bill, pharmacy benefit managers, the small independent pharmacies across the state of Alabama are being crushed because the way they get reimbursed for prescriptions and things along those lines, they're just not getting any money, and they're closing left and right. So there was a bill last year, HB 235, if I'm not mistaken. Ledbetter sat on that, did not let it get through. And there was a couple of other bills that people wanted to at least. I'm a firm believer that at least should get onto the floor to be debated on. If it's a good bill, it'll pass. If it's a bad bill, it won't pass. But let the legislators decide. Let them knock heads. I mean, Ed Oliver's bill last year on CRT, of course, the name got changed on it, finally got into the floor, and there was a lot of yelling and screaming about this particular bill. Now, he got to the floor, they debated it for about an hour or so, and they voted, and it passed. Mm-hmm. But controversial bills, sometimes you have to, I guess you have to figure out where or who's trying to stop some of the controversial bills. Is it, and I hate to say it, lobbyists? Is it this bill is going to help us, so therefore we want you to pass it? Last year with this PBM bill, the lobbyists came out and basically turned some people. The information they were putting out was incorrect, and it turned a lot of people against the bill. Well, what they said was not completely accurate, and that bill got shut down. And there was a couple of other bills. So I don't know what Mr. Ledbetter's going to do this year. They're having their meetings now. The representatives and the senators are getting together. There's going to be a change in the Senate on the pro temp. He stepped away. I believe it was Garrett stepped away, and Galston, I know I'm killing his last name, the gentleman out of Coleman, he's now going to be the Senate pro temp now. He was voted on and passed. So there will be some changes at the leadership level, and there'll be changes at the committees, level also. So we'll just have to see how things shake out.
And I just want to give everybody an idea right here, and this is how I judge everything. So when I'm talking with a politician about any particular thing whatsoever, let's just say illegals coming in, whatever. Mm-hmm. And if the first words out of their mouth is, Donna, Jesus loves everybody. And I've had that said to me. Yeah. And you know what I say? It's okay to mention Jesus now, because we've not been able to mention Jesus because we've been afraid we're going to, interrupt people. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So now it's okay to mention Jesus. Okay, so when they do that, that's their answer, the response. Or when they say, we're going to let the people decide, that makes me nervous too. I just want to hear, I may even vote for you. I just want to know how you really think about a particular issue. I just want to know. When I ask the question, don't put me off on, Donna, Jesus loves everyone. And don't put me off on, we're going to let the people decide. I want to know what you think. That's why I ask. Yeah,
it's hard to get that from a politician.
Well, then I walk away and don't talk to them.
And I use the old adage, are they looking at me or are they looking through me?
Through you, probably.
When I ask a question of a particular politician at whatever level they may be at, and I ask them a pretty point-blank question, tell me the answer. And if I sort of see them looking over my shoulder, they're looking through me. If they're actually taking the courtesy to look me square in the eye and talk to me, and I've had those conversations.
Bingo.
I have sat down with people who are running for office, who are in office, and they'll look you square in the eye. And then, you sort of feel like they're telling you like it is. Their opinions may be different. I don't care if their opinion is different, but tell me what your opinion is. Don't try to make something up. I remember during an election cycle, a couple election cycles back, there was one particular gentleman running for office. I won't mention who, but person running for office, and I sent 5 different people to meetings that this individual was having. And I said, ask this question verbatim. They got 5 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
That's not correct. If just because a person's in a particular room around a group of different people, they feel like they have to answer the question one way, they should be able to answer that same question if they go to another room and there's another batch of people, maybe with different opinions.
You know what we call that? That's called being whose ever dog they're hunting with.
There you go.
And I don't trust that. I just don't. I'd rather. I'm going to tell you someone who's in politics. His name is Tommy Haynes from my neck of the woods up in here.
I know Mr. Haynes.
I would have voted for him if he had been in my district. That guy will shoot straight with you.
Yep.
I asked him about something one time. He was on my show as a regular guest, and he's one of the few I loved having on the show because he would tell you even if it was something you didn't want to hear the answer to.
Yes, ma'am.
And
yes, ma'am.
And I was like, how refreshing it. And then Tommy even said, I don't know why you keep having me on the show. And I said, because you don't say what I want to hear. You just spit it out there and you just say that's how it is. And yeah. I think it's so refreshing. And I think that's why I think people need to be aware and they need to be thinking about Trump got in again against all odds.
Yep.
Because he's brutally honest and he doesn't care if it hurts someone's feelings. He just says it. Yep. And that's what we all want. We're all tired of this wishy-washy, well, Donna, it's because Jesus loves everybody.
Oh, yeah.
We're all tired of that.
I was at a city council meeting. They were actually talking about the influx of Haitians coming into their area. And some of the comments that they made were almost exactly what you said, and the question is it's not that we don't care, but we're not the ones who invited them in. We're not the ones who knew they were coming. When the NGOs know before the people of the city and the population of that city knows there's a group of individuals coming to your area, we've got the money. We, the NGO, have got the money. We'll find out where we're going to put them. And then they get there in the city, the people of the city are going, why are there 20 or 30 of these particular individuals at my Walmart or sitting at the front of the drugstore and stuff like that? They don't have jobs. Now they're trying to use it as economic reasons that they're being brought in because some industries can't get local people to go to work for them. But
they're at the bank cashing checks. I'd like to know that.
Correct.
And then we've got plenty of folks around here who can't pay the bills. Less than 1 minute left in this segment. What's going on with the newscasters? It's growing like gangbusters.
That it is. We continue to add contributors, which is wonderful. We've got a couple of new coming on actually this week, coming on talking about different things. One's going to be talking about music back in the 70s and 80s. And I've got a young lady coming on board out of Washington, D.C., who is going to be talking about, she lives in the Beltway. She knows the Beltway. So some of the stuff that she talks about should be quite interesting. Mm-hmm. So we continue to grow. Our outreach is getting greater. We're getting, more interest. We're having more comments made. And we'll continue to try to provide information that people just can't get otherwise. And we're seeing more people coming to us because of the topics and the things that people are talking about on the platform, or right down people's alley.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much for being with us, Murray. It's always a pleasure. Now you have your rant so I can get you set up for January.
Yes, ma'am.
Next year.
You get the feeling better.
Oh, I feel fine. And thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely appreciate that. Continue sending those emails. Donna@donnasedge.com. Continue watching us on the Newscaster Studio.